Since when did being a good friend become so expensive? For young people in their 20s and 30s, the cost of attending a friend's wedding can quickly add up, especially if you're invited to multiple weddings in one year. Not to mention the added financial and social pressures of being asked to be a bridesmaid or groomsman. That's where Jen Glantz, CEO of Bridesmaid for Hire, comes in.
When you take on the role of being a bridesmaid, it's almost like you become an event planner and you're tasked with doing all of these things when really you just want to be a good friend. So one of the things that I'll help with is planning the bachelorette party, the bridal shower, figuring out the travel plans, but also just being there to listen to the bride when she needs someone to listen to her, and perhaps go wedding dress shopping with her and help her make a lot of the key decisions that your friends want to do, but they might not know how.
Glantz says the idea for her professional bridesmaids business began 5 years back when she was in her early 20s, and a lot of her friends started to get engaged. Glantz noticed there was a niche to fill in the industry. What if a couple didn't have that type A friend who kept the wedding party in line? Keep in mind, a bridesmaid for hire is not a wedding planner. In fact, the definition of a professional bridesmaid is a person who gives the bride pure honesty, spot-on advice, and the unconditional support of a close friend. Glantz herself has been hired as a bridesmaid for over 100 weddings. But like any smart businesswoman, once her enterprise took off, she knew she needed a few more hands for the job.
I'm located in New York City, but we have people all over, and we also have an online training course for people who want to start their own type of business like this, no matter where in the world they are.
Glantz's business model also factors in that every bride has different needs.
We have many packages, everything from maid of honor speech writing to actually being a bridesmaid at your wedding. So packages start anywhere from $500 to $4,000, just depending on your needs.
Finances do play a big role in whether or not a wedding is enjoyable for the happy couple and their guests. Glantz has learned this lesson as both a friend and a professional bridesmaid. The financial commitment to be in a wedding party can be jarring to some.
Oftentimes what happens is there is so much financial pressure, and because of that, a lot of resentment happens. People are tasked with making sure that they're buying a bridesmaid dress and planning a bachelorette party and a bridal shower, and then what happens is by the end of the wedding, the friendship has dissolved, and it's not because anyone meant for that to happen, it's just because there's a lot of pressure on the people doing it.
One of Glantz's biggest pieces of advice is to simply be honest about your financial situation ahead of time if you're concerned about the cost.
I think one of the biggest things is to set your expectations beforehand. So while you're planning to be a bridesmaid or you're planning to enter into wedding season, have a good plan in mind, set a budget for how much you want to spend, make sure that you understand ahead of time what you're willing to commit to.
But what if there was another way to reduce financial strain on the couple's friends? For Ashley Smith, an event and wedding planner based in San Francisco, her solution is to ditch the traditional act of having a wedding party altogether.
It's more focused on the couple, which is what the focus of the day is. It's the union of these two people and their marriage. So I think that bridal parties tend to get a little messy sometimes. Like, it's really not about your friends and what they're wearing, and it's not like a fashion show necessarily for them. So I think that, again, keeping the focus on the bride and the groom is more important. So a lot of times we still do mini photo sessions throughout the days where the bridal party might be in them, or there's family portrait sessions and things like that. But when it comes to the actual ceremony and the main pieces of the event, again, it's kept the focus on, we're keeping the hammer on the nail basically with it.
As owner of Ashley Smith Events, Smith has planned, designed, and produced her fair share of wedding ceremonies. Even though it's an unpopular opinion, she says having bridesmaids and groomsmen on the big day shouldn't have to be mandatory.
I don't think on the wedding day, they don't really play a vital role in anything. I think leading up to the event, a lot of people love to have bridal showers and bachelorette parties or bachelor parties and those things. And it's super fun to go celebrate with all your friends and your nearest and your dearest. And that's a great time for all those people to kind of step up and support you and show their love for you. But I think that on the actual wedding day, again, I don't think that it's 100% necessary to have a whole entourage of people for any reason. A lot of times we also see that people reflect back 5 to 10 years are not friends with a lot of those people anymore. So it also, again, your wedding should be about the two of you.
Smith has a lot of experience working with couples, having planned weddings in traditional venues throughout California, as well as non-traditional destinations like Guatemala, Ireland, Spain, and Mexico. She's seen firsthand how friendships can either grow stronger or crack under the intense wedding pressure.
I've seen it all. I've seen some people get much closer in this process, if they do have the bridal party, and then it can also be a huge distraction. I think that sometimes expectations aren't met, and I think that people have expectation that their maid of honor should be planning all these things, and maybe it's putting a lot of pressure on the maid of honor and she doesn't know how to deliver, so sometimes it can do both. It can really make people grow closer together, and then it can also create a lot of tension or just create separation. I think in some ways you really have to know your friends, and if you are going to pick bridal parties, make sure you're keeping it really focused on the ones that mean the most to you and that have shown up. But you also don't want to put people out or put people into a position where it's going to ruin your friendship. So that's, again, why I kind of think that bridal parties are sometimes nonsense.
Smith says there are other ways that people can show their support for the couple. Not everyone may have the finances to chip into an elaborate bachelorette party, but can offer up their time to help in wedding preparations or provide another idea that's a bit more budget-friendly.
There's always places that people can chime in and help. I think, like a lot of times the mom or the parents or best friends will want to organize one of the extracurricular events that happens, or daytime adventures if they want to go kayaking all day or on a sailboat or whatever it is. So yeah, I think there's definitely places where people can jump in and help.
And while on the subject of finances, if you're set on having a destination wedding, don't forget that many friends also have to consider the added factors like paying more for travel and requesting a greater time off work.
Especially here in California, at least, or maybe just because we're more of a melting pot in San Francisco and we have access to so many destinations here, just given that we have SFO or LAX very close. We see that most people want to schedule destination events around their wedding. So it's a destination bachelorette party, it's Palm Springs or it's Cabo or it's Tulum or whatever it is. And that can be a massive financial burden on a lot of your bridesmaids or your bridal party groomsmen. Vegas is another one that's super close to us. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people now who want to also schedule like week-long parties. They want to do a week in Cabo, and that can be a massive financial strain on your friends.
There are shortfalls and logistical challenges to a destination wedding, but Smith believes that it can be worth the investment if planned properly.
People love weddings. We generally see, an 85% turnout with most of our weddings, and we do a lot of destination weddings as well. And it's still the same turnout. People love them. They want to come. A lot of times the actual event itself and the surrounding events, rehearsal dinners, brunches, welcome parties, those are all paid for by the couple. So it's not as much of a financial hit for the friends for the actual wedding. They obviously have to pay for themselves to get to the location, but people really do love destination weddings. And so it does pan out in that way. They do all show up and want to attend.
Whether a couple decides to hire a professional bridesmaid or throw the idea of wedding parties completely out the window along with the bouquet is ultimately up to them. A friend's role in the wedding is to be supportive and straightforward with the bride and groom, and most importantly, be a good guest on their big day.
Make sure that you're not drinking too much and you're staying hydrated, because a lot of times weddings, what people don't realize too is that we are serving alcohol or things like that for 8 to 9 hours. So, pacing yourself and making sure that you last and are taking care of yourself health-wise is always a great piece of advice.
You can find out more about the services of Jen Glantz, the professional bridesmaid, and Ashley Smith, the worldly wedding planner, through links on our website, viewpointsradio.org. Our studio producer is Jason Dickey. This segment is produced by Annie Krall. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
Two new studies show that sensory impairment, such as hearing or vision loss, is connected to dementia risk. One of the studies, presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in Los Angeles, shows that either a vision or hearing deficit increases the risk of developing dementia by 10% or more, and that impairment in both senses increases the odds much higher. Dr. Keith Fargo is Director of Scientific Programs and Outreach at the Alzheimer's Association.
Through these new research findings, we are beginning to learn that sensory impairments may also be associated with increased risk of dementia, especially when there are several of them at the same time. But we need more research to see if correcting the sensory impairments can reduce dementia risk.
A second study looking at combined effects of the loss of smell, touch, vision, and hearing shows that even mild impairment in multiple senses is associated with an increased risk of dementia. Find out more at alz.org.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call this toll-free number right now, 800-279-0419. That's 800-279-0419. By calling your addiction team, you're taking the first steps to recovery. Don't fight addiction alone. Their advisors are ready to take your call. Your future is still a bright place. The help you need could be one call away. 800-279-0419. That's 800-279-0419. This call is completely confidential, and if you have private insurance, there could be little to no cost to you. Even if you've already been to treatment, give us a call. There's no need to let addiction ruin your life. Take the first step now. Call your addiction team at 800-279-0419. That's 800-279-0419. Make the free call now. 800-279-0419. Your addiction team is a third-party advertiser for various treatment centers and placement networks. Individual results will vary. Visit youraddictionteam.com/terms for more information.
Thank you for listening to Viewpoints Radio, a production of Media Tracks Communications. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please support our show by subscribing, sharing it with a friend, and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find more Viewpoints stories on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and viewpointsonline.net. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Viewpoints Radio.
Coming up on Viewpoints.
You were really glad you had it. I mean, when we had guys with a butcher knife standing us off and being able from 10 or 12 feet away to actually deploy the taser.
The technology and training behind the use of non-lethal weapons. Then,
bullets are flying through storefronts and civilian cars, and over 500 rounds were fired in that intersection.
The story behind the 1980 Los Angeles Norco shootout. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.